On Tuesday, Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper signed into law a package of bills that will help put into place the nation's first regulated marijuana market. The governor, who opposed the November 2012 ballot measure that legalized marijuana in his state, called the new rules common sense. Now all Coloradans 21 and older will be able to purchase recreational pot at licensed dealerships and grow as many as 6 cannabis plants for personal use. However, they will still face stiff penalties for driving under the influence, and may have to pay as much as a 30% tax on a given purchase. Potheads probably aren't happy about the possibility of paying exorbitant excise taxes, but in reality, Colorado's new regulations treat weed a lot like America's other favorite intoxicant, alcohol. For more on Colorado's pot laws and the future of the legalization movement, I'm joined by Alan St. Pierre, the Executive Director of NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Glad to have you, Alan.
I'm glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us. First, let's talk about Colorado's laws. How are they different from Portugal, which has decriminalized pot, or the Netherlands, which functionally ignores the EU rules against pot?
Colorado, and for that matter, Washington voters are the first population on Earth since the 1920s that are moving the issue of marijuana from medical marijuana access to decriminalization to legalization. In Portugal, drugs are decriminalized, but you can't legally buy them. In the Netherlands, it's farcical. You can buy marijuana, but they claim they only allow sales at the front door. They don't tax it and regulate it. So what Colorado is doing is like no other place on Earth.
I remember the Christmas after 9/11, airplane flights were cheap, and we took our kids to Amsterdam for Christmas. And we went into this really, really fancy hotel across from the Rijksmuseum and the big, you know,
yes.
and white linen table. And again, everything was empty. It was amazing. And the guy brought over the wine list and the pot list. Is that what we're going to see in Colorado?
Yes. In about a year, once the regulations are fully promulgated, if you're over 21, you can travel to Colorado and enjoy marijuana just like you would alcohol or wine.
In the wine bar of choice or the pot bar of choice?
Yeah.
Well, that's sweet. Is this the first place in the? I mean, you know, as I said, in Amsterdam they do it, but it's not regulated by law.
This is the first place where they'll be
in the world.
In the world, where the government imprimatur will be put onto the business, where there's, as you indicated, 30% licensing, taxing, excise tax. And yes, as a marijuana consumer, I don't like to pay taxes, but I don't like to be arrested.
Yeah, well, and not only that, I mean, there's a huge tax associated with pot that people are buying outside of the system right now. That tax called the whole criminal justice system and the whole crime system that brings it, and, you know, all, you know, whatever. I mean,
the terrible things that happen in Mexico happen because of our prohibition laws.
Yes, exactly. Well said. The DOJ, I mean, it's still illegal at a federal level.
That's right.
They haven't said anything about what's going on in Colorado, and yet they're still, I mean, they just busted this guy in California that he's looking at like 40 years in prison.
Yeah.
So what's your take on what the DOJ is going to do? Do you have any inside information on that?
I do to some degree, and that is that these states are going to be treated like experiments, that they're going to be given waivers to be able to act differently than the other states.
The states being Washington and
Colorado. I think that's the likely solution here. I don't think the Congress or the executive branch is going to burn any political capital on this, but they will allow these states to move forward, recognizing that, according to the Brookings Institute yesterday, America is now embracing legalization. So it's a fait accompli that Washington needs to deal with this issue.
So do you think, I mean, like single-payer health care was first done in Saskatchewan, Canada, and then, you know, within 10 years, every other province said, hey, that's kind of cool, we'd like that, and now it's gone nationwide. Do you expect that we're going to see the same thing here with decriminalized or legalized pot?
I think we'll see the same pattern that happened with marijuana law reform, where 18 states decriminalized it. 18 states have medical marijuana laws, 15 states have decriminalized it, and now 2 have legalized it. In 2014, Oregon and Alaska are up to the bat, if you will, and in 2016, California, Oregon, if we don't pass it, Massachusetts, Maine, all of them are primed for reform.
In a very real way, aren't we just going back to the way America was prior to the 1920s when marijuana was criminalized?
Yeah. And acknowledging, like with alcohol prohibition, getting on the backside of it, this is really a state issue. If a state, you and I may not live long enough to smoke a marijuana cigarette legally in Ogden, Utah, and that's okay. But if Burlington, Vermont, and Key West and Los Angeles wants to, that's where this is going, I think.
Yeah, it would be a great one. What would a national regulated pot market look like?
It would look probably like our wine market, meaning that some states will allow you to buy it from another state. Other states put up prohibitions for such. But largely speaking, we'll have the type of laws and parameters that we have for alcohol. You can't drive impaired, you can't come to the workplace impaired, and that as an adult, you have to use it responsibly.
Right. What are your thoughts on all this research that's been coming out recently showing that people who use pot are less likely to have early onset dementia, less likely to have Alzheimer's, less likely to have cancer? I mean, it's like, this is like medicine.
Well, for us policy wonks, we recognize that there are 21,000 studies on marijuana. We've studied marijuana more than the atom. So we know a lot about it. It's not benign, but it doesn't warrant a prohibition.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think that this could become a wedge issue for Democrats to use against Republicans the way Republicans have used, you know, guns, gays, God, abortion against Democrats?
In fact, the Brookings Institute data yesterday indicate that if you're in a major political party and you're not keen to marijuana law reform, you're going to be in a deficit in the years to come.
So could this, is it possible, given the libertarian infiltration of the Republican Party, that the Republican Party could actually be the leading edge of this?
For someone like myself who's really been keen to observe this for 23 years, the division now within the Republican Party is clear. You've got moralists on one side and business-leaning libertarians, and they seem to be in the ascendancy in the party.